Hello everyone, it is my pleasure to show you my ecology project on particulate pollution in Beijing. I've written down my name and my student number on the blackboard, so I'm not going to introduce myself any further. So just in case anybody who doesn't know what is a particulate pollution, I'm going to show you some pictures first. So here is the satellite footage collected by NASA. And on the left side of the screen, you can see a pretty hazy day. There are low clouds and there are a lot of fog. While on the right side, you can see a rather clear day. And the sky are bluer, of course. And during January 2013 this year, citizens in Beijing are suggested to stay indoors as much as possible because of the particulate pollution is getting more and more severe. And hospitals are seeing a 20 to 30% increase of the patients complaining of respiratory issues. And here is another couple of photos illustrating the severance of particulate pollution in Beijing. So, what is particulate matter? And these are some definitions that I extracted from the Environmental Protection Agency in the US. Because there are a lot of words, I'm not going to read it, and you can, if you're interested, you can look it afterwards. So, and this is the slide that I intend to show you, which is a lot more curt. So, particulate pollution comes from smoke from the factory, pollen from flowers, and the most important of all, they carry heavy metals, and which is one of the most severe implication of particulate pollution. So, we're supposed to answer 7 questions, and now let's just get started. Here. I want to combine the first and the fifth of the question because they are closely related. What are the ecology risks of this kind of pollution, and what are the consequences? Well, particles can be carried over long distances by wind and then settle on ground and water. The effects of this settling includes making lakes and streams acidic, changing the nutrient balance in coastal waters and large river basins, depleting the nutrients in soil, damaging sensitive forests and farm crops, and affecting the diversity of the ecosystem. I've made a chart myself, which includes some main risks. For vegetation, we can divide them into 2 categories. One is arbors and the other is bushes. Well, for arbors, they mainly suffer from the decreasing amount of sunshine due to the hazy days. And the other one is bushes, which primarily suffer from the blocked stoma by the particulate matters. And because they're usually low in height, their leaves are always covered with particulate pollutants and thus cannot perform efficient photosynthesis. What's worse, for all the vegetation in the urban area, there is an increasing concentration of metal in their organisms, and this may disturb their metabolism eventually. Well, as for mammals, scientists observe a bump in the cardiovascular and respiratory diseases. These are diseases that may lead to death if not being treated in time. And since the urban ecosystem is already very weak, we cannot afford death or extinction like this to happen. Now let's come to question number 2. What are the causes of this ecological risk? Well, this is a chart that I found from the EPA website, which shows the resources of PM in the United States. There are, of course, agriculture, fuel combustion, and vehicles, and a lot of others. Well, in Beijing, we not only have those resources the same as it has in the US, we also have dust storms in the springtime and large amounts of coal burning in the heating season. Well, and all of these contribute to the high density of the particulate matter in Beijing. So, and this is a chart that I previously showed in the definition of PM, and which also contains briefly how particulate matters are formed. You can stop the video right here and to see it clearly, because I really don't have enough time to go in detail. So, And question number 3, what are the vulnerable species and ecosystem? Well, there are certainly a lot of species suffered from the particulate pollution. The picture shows ginkgo, which is the city tree of Beijing, and mosses and lichens, and a lot of other vegetation. And reasons include the blocking stoma and metal concentration, etc. And this has an effect on the wildlife of the area because many animals are dependent on the plants for food. And this effect can be passed up on the food chain. So snails, amphibians, and earthworms are all going to be affected. So here is a case study on mammals. Scientists exposed mice in high concentration of PM2.5 for 10 weeks. And compare with the filtered air group, the mice develop inflammation and impaired metabolism and so on. So hence, we can jump to the conclusion that mammals are vulnerable when exposed under the particulate matter. And another statistic is from the American Heart Association, which shows that the United States alone, PM2.5 air pollution sparks some 60,000 deaths a year. So by breathing in the particulates, mammals are indeed in harm. Well, for snails, amphibians, they suffer from the particulate matter by increasing metal consumption. So if trees are high in metal, they are high in metal in their body, which apparently will do no good to their body. Well, as I talked about it earlier, particulate matter carries metal. They stuck in plant stoma, they fell in the soil by the rain, which will be absorbed by the plant or penetrate into the underground water eventually. And this is the beginning of biomagnification, which I bet you have all learned that lesson when you are in high school in biology class. So I think you know the consequences. Well, without doubt, a great ecosystem is going to be more vulnerable. And the already vulnerable urban ecosystem is going to be undermined even further. Here we can see a map of PM2.5 average over 2001 to 2006. And in this picture, we can see that high level of PM2.5 from the Saharan Desert to Eastern Asia. And when compared to the population density all over the world, we can see more than 80% of the world population are breathing in the particulate air. So, what are the local situation? Here, compared with between Beijing and Taiwan, Taiwan, of course, obviously have the less particulate pollution. Well, why is that? Because climate are different. In Taiwan, we have a lot of rain, and in Beijing, they're drier. And of course, there are population density difference, there are car density difference, and factory density difference, of course. And from the paper, we know that there are basically three factors that are related to the PM density: temperature, wind speed, and relative humidity. Well, the temperature and relative humidity are positively related with the PM density, and the wind speed is inversely related with the PM density, which means that an area with low temperature, low humidity, and high wind speed are less likely to suffer from particulate pollution. So, let's come to the last question. What are the restoration measures? Here, on the top of the screen, you can see two figures collected from pre-Olympic period in Beijing till post-Olympic period. And you can see during the Olympic time, the PM density is pretty low. So what did Beijing government do to make that happen? Well, for the starters, we are not free to use our cars. Well, like if your car plate is an odd number, you're supposed to be on the street on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Well, if your car plate is an even number, you can go on the street on Tuesday, Thursday, or Saturday. And if you go on the street on the wrong day, you may be facing a severe fine. Well, and another thing is Beijing has an amazingly cheap public transportation compared to Taiwan. and people are willing to take public transportation so that they can shorten their car emissions and also save money. And the last but not least, here you can see a chart that shows the correlation analysis of PM density between surrounding area of Beijing and Beijing. So as you can see in the chart, controlling emissions from the outside of Beijing is pretty essential too. So, and now we have a strong network that can allow public to know what kind of air they are breathing in. So, so they might be more willing and they are more eager to create a better living environment for themselves. And to sum up, a relationship is likely to exist between the deposition of PM and a variety of effects on individual organisms and ecosystems. So, why don't we just do more to create a bluer sky? And thanks for you guys listening. Thank you.